Welcome to the instruction video of our budget spreadsheet. In this video, we're going to go through the different tabs of the spreadsheet, as well as how to set up the spreadsheet and how to customize the spreadsheet. The first tab that you will find in this spreadsheet is the README tab. On the README tab, you'll find some basic links, including a link to this instruction and video guide you're on right now, a link to our Google Sheets tips and tricks guide, a link to our general help desk where you can find a lot of our FAQs answered, as well as a button and a link on how to contact us. If you scroll a little bit further down, you'll see some basic instructions, as well as some upgrades and add-ons. So basically, we've added some add-ons, or we've made some add-ons available for those that would like to upgrade the spreadsheet. So for example, we have an annual tab add-on, as well as a balance tracker add-on. If you scroll a little bit further down, you'll be able to find a little bit more spreadsheet information. And what you'll also be able to find is the spreadsheet version. So we regularly update our budget spreadsheets to include new functions based on feedback that is provided by you. And when we do, we make sure to make each new version a different name. That way, when you go to the bottom of the instruction guide, that's basically where you're on right now, you'll find a changelog, and over there you can see the most current version, as well as a changelog of all the changes we have made. So that way you can easily see if there's been any update and if you would like to access the newest update or the newest spreadsheet. Now, if you do, all you have to do is just click on that new template button, and that will open a brand new and most up-to-date version of the spreadsheet for you. This new template button is also useful for those that would just want to start fresh or have a new template, or basically if you have changed something in your spreadsheet and it stopped working, you can click on here to open up a brand new template. Now, the next tab that you'll find in your spreadsheet, and probably one of the most important tabs, is our Start tab. Our Start tab is basically where you'll, as the name says, start. So when you enter information here, it will update on all the other tabs. And to basically explain the function of the spreadsheet is you enter transactions in the log, and when you enter them over here, it will automatically update on the budget tab. And if you purchase our Plus version, also our savings tab and our debt tab. So basically, you'll see some drop-downs over here. And for these drop-downs to work and function properly, we're going to have to enter in our information over here. Now, the first thing that you could do is, for those that are new to Google Sheets or new to this budget spreadsheet, is just click this little box. We've included this function, and basically it will turn all fields that can be edited yellow. So that way you can easily see where to enter information. Now, you can click and unclick this at any point in time. Just know it takes a second, and basically it's doing all the tabs, but you'll be able to see basically where to enter your information this way very easily. Now, the first thing that we would recommend changing is your currency. So this spreadsheet is standard set to the $sign. But if you would like to change this to a different currency sign or abbreviation, all you have to do is double click on this field, hit the backspace button on your keyboard, and type in a currency sign or abbreviation of your own. Again, you just double click on this field, hit backspace button on your keyboard, and just type in a currency sign or abbreviation of your own. Now, this spreadsheet can both be used as a zero-based budget, which basically means that you use your income for that month or paycheck and just basically use that for that specific time frame that you're budgeting for. But we also have included the function of having a rollover budget, which means that whatever you had left from last paycheck or month, you can include into next budget. Now, if you prefer to have a rollover budget and you would like to do this with basically your account balance, what you could do is enter your start balance on the day you start budgeting here. So if, for example, you have $250 in your bank account, you just double click on this field, delete whatever value is there, and just type in that amount that is in your bank account. That way, when the rollover is selected, you'll easily be able to see your current bank account balance. So that way you can easily see and more accurately see how much you've left to spend. Now, the next thing you're going to want to change are your subcategories. So in total, you can enter 30 income and 40 savings, bills, expenses, and debt subcategories. We've already added some examples here, but basically you can enter anything that works for you. Now, to enter in a subcategory, all you have to do is double click on a field as it is a text field, and you just type in a subcategory of your own. For example, paycheck number 1, paycheck number 2. And let's say you do some freelance work, you would like to add that here as well. And when you add these here, now if we would click on one of these drop downs, we can see they've been added over here as well. Now, at any point in time, if you're missing a subcategory, you just come back to the Start tab and you just enter that information over here. Now, once you've set up your subcategories, you can scroll down and you'll see the savings and sinking funds as well as the debt section. If you've purchased our regular budget, so not the plus version, the savings and sinking funds section and the debt section will be hidden, as the savings and debt tabs are not included with the regular version. Now, if you would still like to purchase this, don't worry. We have linked the add-ons on the README tab, and you can just purchase these individually. So you can either buy the savings tab or the debt tab or even both. And this section is just hidden, and in that setup video, we'll show how to make this available. Now you can just buy those first, add them, and then come back to this video and then see how to set them up. If you would not like to add these, or if you don't want to use the savings or debt tab, you can just skip this section and just go straight to the setup of our budget tab. Now, if you have purchased the plus version, what you're going to want to do is basically you'll see that all of your savings that we added on the top here have now been added here for us. And now for each savings or sinking fund, if we'd like, we can add a goal amount, a start amount if you've already had some money set aside for it, and a start date as well as an end date. Now, all of these are completely optional. So if you have an ongoing fund like annual bills, and let's say you have $750 in that fund, but you just contribute this whenever you can, you don't have to set a goal, you don't even have to enter a start amount or a start date and an end date, it will just be considered an ongoing fund. But if, for example, you want to save $15,000 for a wedding, and at this moment you have $7,500 already saved, and let's say you're starting budgeting on the 1st of January and you would like to reach this goal, let's say we can just use that calendar by the 1st of June. We just enter those dates here. So for the calendar to pop up, just double click. And then we can see if we would save $441.18 each month, we would reach that goal. Now, once you enter this information here, it will automatically be added to the savings tab. So here we can see all the subcategories. We can see that goal date as well as all that information that we've added over here. So basically at any point you need to adjust this, or you would like to add a new goal or a new fund, what you do is just enter up top here. Then it will be added to the savings and sinking fund section. And then you can enter that goal amount, start and end date. And basically you'll see how much you need to contribute each month, or of course, leave those empty. Now, once you set up the savings and sinking funds, you can scroll down a little bit further and set up your debt tab. Now, setting up the debt section works the same way as setting up our savings and sinking fund section. But basically what we're going to want to do is set a start date for all of our debts together. So you can set individual start dates for the debt tab. You basically just set a start date for when you're starting to pay off debt. So let's say on the 1st of January 2024, you would like to start. Then you can select a payoff method. So you can pick between Snowball or Avalanche. So let's say we select Snowball. And then what we can do is for each debt, enter in the information. You don't have to add them in any particular order. Based on the payoff method you select, they will be organized in order for you. So let's enter some fictional amounts here. So let's say these are the amounts that you owe on these debts. Now, we don't have to enter all of them in because we're just going to quickly show you how it works. You add an interest rate. Now, again, these are all fictional, of course, but it will be more accurate once you add your own debt. Now, basically, once we add this information here, your debt tab will automatically be filled in for you. So now that we go over here, you can see that all of those debts have been organized based on the payoff method you selected, and you can basically see your payoff schedule. So you'll be paying $300 in total towards these debts each month, and you can see exactly when you'll be debt-free. So over here, you can see as we have not started yet, so we're setting it January 2024, as currently November 2023, we can see that in 16 months, basically, it will take us to become debt-free. So, and basically this way, once you start, this will show a more accurate debt payoff progress and this will start updating. So let's say, for example, if we would have started in October 1st, now we go to our debt tab, we can see we'll be debt-free in 15 months and we'll be able to see how much we've paid off and how much there's still left to pay off. So 12.1% in November, because this is based on the most current month. At the end of the month, we would be 12.1% of our debt would have been paid off. Now, we'll look a little bit better at the debt tab later, but basically you see that at any point that you enter your information here, it'll be added to the debt tab. Now, the next tab we're going to have a better look at is our budget tab. So this spreadsheet includes two different budget tabs, and basically they work the exact same way. The only difference is the color design. So basically the regular budget is set up with just our theme colors. So if you want to change the colors, you can do that by changing the theme colors. We show how to do this if you go to our Google Sheets tips and tricks section, which is linked on the README tab. then this page is better for you, as here basically Google Sheets only allows a set amount of theme colors. Here all the colors will automatically update with the theme and the rest is just gray and white. But if you go to the budget 2 tab, it's very set up with a pastel color theme, and then these headers might change colors, but everything else will stay pink and orange and blue, and you would have to change that manually. Now, whatever tab you don't use, you can simply hide by just clicking on this little arrow and clicking hide sheet. We recommend keeping it just as a backup, just in case you ever need it or you decide to change the colors after all, or perhaps you would like to use the other tab. But this way you will still have the tab, but it's just not visible. Now, the next thing we recommend doing is creating a template. So when you create a template, basically every time you have a new paycheck, all you have to do is create a duplicate of the template and then adjust it as needed. So if you're using this on a week-to-week basis or a month-by-month basis, or your paycheck is bi-weekly, what might be the easiest thing to do is that you enter in all the different amounts of money that you might occur during the different paychecks. So let's say, for example, you have all these bills that you need to pay each month. Now what you can do is enter all these amounts, and then when you create a duplicate for just that specific paycheck, you can delete whatever is not necessary or relevant for that paycheck. That way you don't have to find and enter in these numbers over and over again. Now what we recommend doing is switching this to left to budget, and basically your left to budget is your income plus whatever rollover you have entered here, minus your savings, bills, expenses, and debt. So if, for example, you expect 2 paychecks of $1,500 each and $750 of freelance work, that means your total left to budget at the moment is $3,750. If from a previous paycheck you expect, let's say, another $500 left over, you can manually enter this here. So that will be your planned rollover amount. And now it shows you have $4,000 or $4,250 left to budget. So over here, this little section is the number is only visible on the browser version, as the app makes all backgrounds of graphs white instead of transparent. So just know that you can read the amount on the left over here. Same for left to spend, that's your actual. So now if you enter in those savings, for example, you can see that that amount is slowly going down. Now these are of course all fictional data. Should you have a little bit more of an accurate budget or a real budget, you can see that this is a little bit more accurate, of course. So let's say, for example, rent is $750, electricity we pay for gas, internet, phone plan, a gym membership, pay a car each month, as well as child support and utilities. And then we can enter in all of our credit card payments that we have planned. So let's say you want to spend $100 to $50 depending on each loan or credit card. Again, all fictional. And the last thing that we need to add is basically now we can see we have $1,400 still left to spend on our expenses. So we do those groceries, health, let's say beauty. You want to go for coffee, public transport, you go dining out, you need $100 for fuel, some for drinks, parking, and some for gifts. And now we've ended up with $0. Now you don't have to end up at $0, of course. If you would like to take some money over to next month, you could just, of course, leave this higher. Or if you say, like, I've put enough money in all of like the little subcategories that I have, then you can just leave this open, and then in your actual, you can see where that money would go. Now this way we have a template, and all we need to do for whenever we have a new paycheck is just right click on this little arrow and click duplicate. Now let's say we want to make one for January 2024. Let's say part 1, what we can do is just rename that by double clicking, and then you can just give it whatever name you like. You can also right click and click rename over here. And now what you'll need to do is just adjust the dates. That's the first thing you're going to want to do, as your actuals will only read the transactions from the log between the dates that you've entered. So let's say, for example, we want a budget for the last 2 weeks of January. So that's the 17th till the 31st. We just double click for this little calendar pop up and for us to enter in those dates. And now whenever we enter transactions in the log between those dates, they will add up to our actuals. Now let's say you are adjusting this, and in this time frame, you're only expecting 1 paycheck, so paycheck number 2 and not paycheck number 1. And when it comes to bills, you've already paid your rent, your gym membership, gas and electricity, as well as you've already paid off a majority of those debt payments, and you've already set money aside for savings. Now you can just remove or adjust these amounts just for this specific paycheck, so you can get a left the budget for that section, but that way you don't have to relook again what those bills were or whatever bills there still need to be paid or what the amount is. And this way, basically, we have a budget just for those 2 weeks in January. Now, when we go to the log and we enter transaction, so let's say on that 17th of January, receive that paycheck that we had planned on. Now, if it shows false, just click out of it and click back. So that's paycheck number 2. We go here and we did the wrong year, so 17th of January 2024. And now when we go here, we can see that an actual has been added. And now if we go to our left to spend, so we had a $250 that we started with, and we added $1,500. It shows that right now, for those 2 weeks, we would have $1,750 left to spend. Now let's say on that 17th of January, and be sure to type in a 24 behind it, if it is 2024, because Google adds the current year to the back, and it's still 2023 at the moment. So if you're planning ahead, this might be good to know. And let's say you also did grocery shopping, expenses and groceries, and you grabbed some coffee after that as well. And again, can't forget that year. Coffee. And now if we go to the budget, we can see that our left to spend starts updating as we've paid those actual amounts. So these will total for us automatically. Our graphs will start showing. And if we go to the bottom here, we can see that now we will also be able to find all our transactions in the bottom here. Now these get automatically added in chronological order for you, so you don't have to add them in chronological order in the log. That will show here in the right order for you. And over here you'll also be able to find a spending breakdown. So basically of the amount you spent on savings, bills, expenses and debt, they'll be added from highest to lowest over here with a graph above it, so you can see where you've actually spent your money. Now this is a graph that will show your balance throughout your paycheck, or the time frame basically you've selected. So let's say, for example, on the 18th of January, you spent another $75 on paying off a debt. So now when we enter this amount, and if we go back to our budget tab, we can see now that this graph will start updating. So when you click on it and hover over it, you can see the balance by day. So basically when you add income, it will go up, and any savings, bills, expenses or debt are deducted, so it will go down. So you can basically see how your balance fluctuated throughout that paycheck. And that is basically how this tab works. It might be good to know that you can create a little bit more of a compact view. So we have included space for those that have a lot of like bills, savings, expenses and debt payments, or a lot of income sources. But if you have a lot of rows that you're not using, what you can do is just click on that top row, hold shift on your keyboard, click on that bottom row, right click and click hide rows. This way you have a very nice and compact view, but at any point you add more subcategories, these will still be available to you. So this will just expand again, and you can just re-hide it if needed. Now, another feature that we have included is the rollover function. So the rollover will basically take your start balance plus whatever was left from last paycheck. So let's say, for example, we added a start balance of $250. You can see that that amount has been added. But now should we create a budget for the first 2 weeks of February? So let's say we create that duplicate again. And now we type in February 2024 and we adjust those dates here. So the 1st of February, because we ended on the last of January. And then we do that till the 15th of February for those 2 weeks. We can see that whatever that $16.20 that we did not spend until basically before the 1st of February gets added over here. So that's the rollover. If you prefer to use this as a zero-based budget, you can just unselect this. It will not show here, and you can just unclick this from here or just add 0, and then it will not be included. And yeah, so basically this way you can create as many budget tabs as you like, as many budget tabs as you needed. Again, we highly recommend keeping this as a template. That way, should you ever mess anything up, for example, if we look at the January tab, and let's say you accidentally remove that formula that was in the grocery section, which can very easily happen as when you create a duplicate, there are no warnings anymore. So for example, if we show, normally on your budget tab, you'll have warnings. It doesn't have that on our version as we regularly make edits, but in yours, it will have a little lock showing, which just means that there have warnings been added. And then should you enter any information in a field that is protected, let's say we would type something like this here, you'll get a heads up. Should you get this heads up, make sure to click cancel and not OK, or else you'll make changes and either override or remove the formula. So now let's say when you create a duplicate, all those warnings unfortunately get deleted. So they will not be present. So that's why we have added this option to make these sections yellow. So you can, at the beginning, when you're getting used to this spreadsheet, easily see where to enter that information. At any point, of course, when you're like using this for a couple of weeks or months, you can just turn this off to get a nice, like better or a more clear view without all that yellow. But now, by accident, you remove that actual, that formula doesn't work anymore. You just go to that budget, you go to that same field basically on the template that you have that does have the warnings. You click, right click, click copy. You go over here, right click and click paste. And that way the formula just gets added back again. So this way you always know where to get your formulas and you can just copy and paste them back so they will always work. And that is basically how the budget tab works. Again, create as many as you need. At any point that you don't need them anymore, you just right click and you can either delete them or you can hide them. So that way you can keep them for old, like if you want to keep a record of them, or you can just delete them if you don't need them anymore. And you get a heads up and you can just click OK. And that way it will be deleted. Now it might be good to know another tip and why we recommend creating duplicates of the tab is that your actuals contain formulas, so these updates, but the plans are just text fields. So let's say, for example, if you would not create a duplicate and you say for the 1st of January to the 14th of January, this was your budget. And now you create a new budget for that, let's say that 17th till the 31st that we were talking about. And now you say, oh, I wanted my budget or I plan to spend $250 towards that wedding or save towards that wedding. Now, if you would go back to those old dates, so that previous budget that you have on the 14th, your actuals will disappear as basically they don't fall within these dates, but you can see those planned amounts do not update. They're just basically show whatever you have entered last. So if you create a duplicate and if you create a budget just for February, this way it will not influence any of the other tabs. So you can make changes, adjust these planned amounts, and whenever this is done, you can either delete it or hide it, and you just create a brand new duplicate and it does not influence any of the other tabs, and it will just be specifically for this time frame that you have selected. Now the next tab that we're going to have a better look at is our calendar tab. And our calendar tab was included for those that would like to keep track of basically their payments, so that could be bill payments or debt payments on a calendar view. Now when you scroll down here, you can see that all of your bills and debts have automatically been added here for you. But as we know, there are a lot of people that might pay weekly bills or bi-weekly bills. What we've done is added a bunch of extra space where you can enter basically those weekly or bi-weekly bills. So for example, let's say you pay rent on a bi-weekly basis. You just click on this drop-down arrow and it will overwrite that link that it had to the start tab and we just enter rent there again. So let's say we pay rent on the 2nd and the 16th of each month. Now we can see they'll automatically been added here to the list over here. So now basically we just add all of these dates. They don't have to be in order because basically they'll automatically been added in order here for us on the left. Now you can do the same for the credit cards. Now let's say these are the ones that you're currently paying off. Again, if you should pay rent bi-weekly and you also need to pay it still on the 30th, you just enter that amount or just enter the date over here. You just pick it from the drop-down section and then you can see all of them will be added in chronological order for you. And then all of them will be added to the calendar. And then once you've paid a bill, you just simply click the checkbox and now on the calendar you'll be able to see that that bill has been paid. Now also for this tab, what we recommend doing is creating a template one time. So if you have those bills that get paid monthly on a set monthly date, you can just fill those in. If you have bills that get paid bi-weekly, what you could do is enter them here, but leave the dates empty as these might change every month. And then basically what you do is just for each new month, you create a duplicate. Now we could name this calendar January 24. And now what we can do is just enter specifically for these months, like the date. So now we knew it was the 2nd, the 16th, and the 30th. And they'll be added specifically for the January, because if you're paying bi-weekly, your next date might be like let's say the 10th of February, for example. It will not be the 2nd. So it might be easier to keep that empty template where you just look in your calendar real quick and see what the dates will be for that next month, as these dates will not update when your month updates. So it just basically stays that number that you've added over here. Another benefit of creating a template is that you don't have to uncheck these checkboxes. So now for January, what we could do is we just enter in our paydays over here. So also these have little calendars in them. So let's say you get paid on the 1st and you get paid from your second job on the 20th. You just enter these here so you can easily see when you get paid on the calendar. You can enter up to 10 in total. And it might also be good to know that should you, for example, be budgeting with your partner, these paydays can be renamed. So let's say this is you. So this is payday from, let's say, John. And this is payday from Sarah. You just enter this so you can see who gets paid on what date. So these can be adjusted to whatever you'd like. Now for this month, all you have to do, so let's say this is for January. Again, we just select the month from the drop down. Then we just pick the year, which works the same way, so 2024. And then you can pick on whatever day you would like the calendar to start. So let's say you would like the calendar to start on Sunday. You just select Sunday and you can see that the whole calendar will update for you. Now we can see that all of our bills have been added here. So now we can see all of those that do not have a date are not on the calendar. So don't forget to every month when you create a duplicate to fill in those last dates. So let's say these get paid on a 4-weekly basis. So you didn't add them here. Now you just enter these here. And again, they'll be added in chronological order. Now you just, throughout the month of January, just select these bills whenever you pay them. So you can easily see when they're done, when they're paid off. Once the month is finished and you've paid all those bills, use delete or hide that sheet. So let's say in our case, we want to delete it. And now for the next month, we create a duplicate again. That way you don't have to remove or adjust these paydays. You don't have to unselect these checkboxes. And that way you only have to fill in those numbers or those days that you have not added to the calendar yet. That way you just simply select the month. So let's say February, and everything will update automatically for you. And that way you will always, again, the same with the budget tab, you will just have a template that works. And yeah, that's basically how the calendar tab works. The next step that we're going to have a better look at before we're having a look at the plus version is our worksheet tab. So this is a bonus that is included for those that would like to focus on spending less and saving more. And basically what you could do here is for all of your bills and expenses is assign a priority. So you can see how much money you spent on the things that are important to you, or maybe things that are not so important to you, so you could see where you could save some money. So let's say, for example, groceries, health, very important. Beauty might be neutral to you. Coffee, not that important. Public transport, somewhat important. Dining out, not important. You just click on these little drop-down sections and you assign an importance. It will take the totals of your log tab and it will show you in an overview on the right here how much you spent on each of these categories, basically. This priority worksheet is just a bonus that's included. If you don't like to use it, you can either delete it or hide it as well. Now, if you've purchased our regular version, then this is where the tutorial ends for you. But if you've purchased our plus version, the next step that we're going to have a better look at is our savings tab. So I already quickly had a look at our savings tab when we looked at our start tab. But basically, the savings tab is one of the easiest tabs to use as you don't have to enter any information here. Basically, all information gets taken from your Start tab as well as your Log tab, and it just gets summarized here for you. So you can switch between balances and percentages, so you can see how far you are for each savings goal. So let's say you put balances on, we can see that for the wedding, our goal was 15,000. We started with 7.5, and at the moment we haven't saved anything. So let's say we now save $500 on January on that wedding. Now if you would go over here, you can see that it's saved, so that $500 gets added here. Our left to save will be $7,000, and based on a monthly contribution of $441.18, it will take us another 16 months basically to reach that goal. So all of that information just gets updated for you. On the top here, you'll also be able to see your total goal, how much you started with, how much you saved in total, so that's your start plus whatever you've added to that log, and how much there's still left to save. Now, it might be good to know that again, if you're using this on the app, these balances are not visible as they are placed behind the graphs, and the Google Sheets app makes basically the background white instead of transparent. So for that reason, we've added the balance below here as well, so you will always be able to see the balance, no matter if you're using this on the app or on the browser version. Now, If you would like to take money or withdraw money from a fund, so let's say you have $750 in an annual bill fund and you would like to pay a bill, all you have to do is enter in a negative transaction. So let's say you pay that bill, so it's minus $100 from that saving fund is what we need. So we do minus $100 from the savings in the annual bill. And now if we look, we can see that that $100 gets deducted, so your balance is $650. But now what you're going to want to do, so if you're looking at that January budget, you can see that $100 has basically become available to spend, as it is income minus savings, so minus and minus becomes plus. So now to balance this out, what you're going to want to do is just enter that transaction on what you spend it on. So let's say if you, for example, spent that on childcare, so we click $100, bills, and childcare, now it will balance out that budget. So now we can see that $100 has been withdrawn from that annual bill fund, and we can see $100 has been added to that childcare that we've used it for. That way your budget is balanced out again, and that way you can see what you've spent the money on, you can see exactly what funds you've deducted money from, and your savings section will also be up to date. So again, you just enter a negative transaction to withdraw that money from that fund, and then you add the transaction based on what you spend it on. So yeah, and that is how the saving tab works. It's actually quite easy to use, and it's just an overview tab for you, so you can see how you're doing on your goals and each of your savings and sinking funds. Now the next step, or the last step that we're going to have a better look at, is our debt tab. And again, all of this information has also already been pre-filled for us based on that information that we entered here in that start tab. So basically what you can see over here is on the left you have an overview of how much you need to pay towards each debt each month. So let's say we set the start date on October 2023. We can see that in that month, it will basically read the information from all this information you have added on the right here. So it will show you all these payments and at the end of the month balances. That way you don't have to scroll through the whole overview. You'll just be able to see it in the overview on the left here. So here you can see that for credit card number 4, you would have to pay $70, credit card number 3, $25, credit card number 5, $80, and so on. What you'll also be able to see is how much you have paid towards each debt. So if you would enter a transaction in the log tab, so let's say we go to January 2024, where we are right now, and you see credit card number 4, I need to pay $70. So you go to that log tab, you enter $70, debt, and credit card number 4. Now we can see that $70 has been added to our paid here, and there's nothing left to pay for the month. We also able to see that there's $386.55 left at the end of the month once we've paid that $70. So here you look at January and you can see $70 at the end of the month, that balance will be $386.55. We'll also be able to see that at the end of this month, 40.5% of our debt will basically be paid off. So you can easily see your progress for each of the debts. Now, one of the things that makes this debt tab so unique is that we've actually added an option that you can pay more towards any debt at any time. So let's say you had that higher bonus or you made more money off that freelance and you would like to pay a little bit more towards the debt you're paying off. So let's say instead of $70, you paid $150. Now, when you go towards the debt tab, we can see that there's minus $80 left. So you spent an extra $80 towards the debt, basically. We can also see that our balance now has automatically been updated for us, as well as our progress. So over here, now when we go to that section over here, we can see that $150 has replaced the $70 that we've added here at the beginning, or that was planned. And then all of our calculations after that have been updated for us. So this way, this works with any debt. So let's say credit card number 2 is bothering you a lot and you would really like to get rid of it as fast as possible. And in January, you had that little bit of extra money left. So you would like to put an extra $500 towards that credit card number 2. And now when we go over here, we can see that $500 has replaced that $50 plan amount, and the calculations have updated automatically for us. So all of those balances have adjusted. Now we can see that debt will be paid off in September 2024, compared to if we would remove this amount that was originally December 2024. And once a month is finished, it will automatically cross out. So as it's currently November, October has been crossed out here for us. If you know in advance that you're receiving a bonus or you would like to pay off more towards the debt, what you could do is also add it in this plus or minus section over here. So let's say in December you want to put an extra $200 towards your debts, and it will automatically be distributed to that first or that most current debt that you're paying off. So you can see that $70 has become $270. Now, should you need to pay off less, then you can also add that here. But just know if at the moment you don't have any monthly extra set in the Start tab. So if let's say you want to pay $50 less, it will give you a warning over here in orange because it means that towards that first debt, you'll be paying less than the minimum payment amount, and that could possibly hurt you. So that is basically how that section works. Now, what might be good to know is that if at any point in time you're using a credit card or you need to adjust the balance, which could be for various reasons, because for example, if you make multiple payments a month, the interest rate could be calculated differently. It could be because you paid late and you had a late fee. It could be because there's yearly credit card charges, or simply you used a credit card. We highly recommend checking those balance often and see if they still match with the planned amounts that's been added here, especially when you make the last payment towards your debt, that you make sure you paid off that debt in full and there's not still money sitting in that account that you were not aware of. So if at any point you need to adjust that balance, what you do is you just simply locate the debt, you locate the month. So let's say in January 2024, you use that credit card, annual charges were made to it, it is not up to date anymore. You just replace it with the accurate balance. So let's say it is actually $750. You just typed it in here and you can see that all the other calculations will update automatically for you. So this will recalculate, but also all other payments that come afterwards have also automatically been updated as well. You can do this as many times as needed. So let's say you use that credit card again, you had an emergency, $1,500. You can see all of that and your debt, or how long it will take you to become debt-free, automatically updates for you. So again, we highly recommend checking on a monthly basis after you've made that payment, is that balance still accurate? Because this spreadsheet goes on that perfect world scenario where there's no late payment fees, there is no extra credit card fees, and basically there's many scenarios that could influence the balance that this spreadsheet cannot take into consideration. So this truly gives you an idea of, based on a perfect scenario, when you would be debt-free. But whenever you need to adjust that balance, again, just click on that field and you just adjust that balance. Even if it's for a couple of dollars, you just adjust it so you can get a more accurate calculation of your debts. Now, it might also be good to know that the spreadsheet is also set up that you can make multiple payments throughout the month and it will just show you the totals of those paid. So if, for example, you would pay an extra $100 towards debt of credit card number 4, you go back to the debt tab, you can now see it just shows that total of $250 and it will show minus $180 left. And again, this has been replaced here for us. So that way, for those that would like to make multiple small payments throughout the month, you can easily see how much there is still left to pay for each of the debts. So you don't have to keep track of that yourself, basically. Now, before we end this video, we quickly wanted to show you a couple less tips of the log tab that we've included. Now, the log tab can get quite long as you keep on adding transactions as you go. And just know that you do not have to enter your transactions in chronological order. So there's a very easy trick that allows you to just put them in order in just seconds. So let's say, for example, this was on the 1st of January instead of the 3rd of January. You just click on the A and this little arrow will pop up and then just click Sort Sheet A to Z. And now when you click that, you can see it will now just be added to the top. So again, the 2nd of January 2024, we spent $1,500 on a debt. So let's say, for example, credit card number 3. Again, we click Sort Sheet A to Z, and now we can see that $1,500 has now been added in chronological order here for us. And yeah, that is basically how our budget spreadsheet works. If you have any other questions, be sure to send us a message. We leave our contact information on the README tab. And thank you so much for watching and have a great day.